Literally, I write weird.
All right.
I'm writing about.
Peace in, all y'all out there in cyberspace.
I write 4 6 paragraphs in college.
That means time to be quiet.
Grade
Peace
21.
in means peace and quiet. Thank you very much. All right. Just as a, whoops, gotta put off the previous. As a quick review, before we get back into further notes, those Civil War amendments, 13 said what? No more slavery. And the big deal about what that was, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't include the border states. And plus the 13th Amendment's going to set it in stone, right? But there was one caveat. What was the loophole in the 13th Amendment that the former Confederates were going to use? You betcha they were going to use it. Yeah.
They could just find some way to accuse black people.
Yeah. If you can accuse them of a crime, and really, in some situations, depending on how corrupt the politicians are in your area, you show me a person, I'll show you a crime. I mean, for just about anyone, they could probably come up with something you've done wrong. Vagrancy. Hey, loitering, you're
I've done nothing wrong, I'm perfect.
back to the plantation. What about the 14th Amendment? 14th.
Oh, I know that one.
What's the big deal about the 14th Amendment? The 13th abolished slavery. The 14th wanted to make sure that it was known now and forever that, yeah, okay, they're not slaves. And you know what else? You can't treat them differently. Everyone gets equal protection under the law. Legally, you're not allowed to treat someone differently because they were a slave. The South, the former Confederates, the ones that were really still angry at the loss, we're not just going to start treating black people like they were equals. So they're going to try every loophole that they can get around the 14th Amendment. What about the 15th Amendment? Yeah.
Like equal voting rights?
Yes. Not only are they going to be treated equally as citizens of the United States, you cannot keep them from voting. Well, they find loopholes, right? So we're not going to let you not vote because you're black. We're going to give you a literacy test. Oh, you can't read and write? Well, why couldn't they read and write? Because they were kept enslaved all that time and purposely not allowed to read and write. Please, gentlemen. Yeah.
Aside from their motives about literacy tests, that's not really that bad, though. Like, whenever you think about it, if you can't read or write, you really shouldn't vote, because just to say you're just gonna vote for something totally random.
Sure. It's a topic of debate often, even like maybe today in history, like, should every adult be able to vote? And some people would argue that some people don't really have the capacity to vote.
I mean, like,
Mental capacity to understand what's going on, should they really have to vote? But listen, once you start going down that road and you start saying that this person can't vote for that reason and this person can't vote for another reason, where does that end? And that's why that I understand what you're saying. But once you start down that, there's something called the slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
Where does it end? You start saying, well, they can't vote because what? What are you gonna do? Say that they can't read or write, or their IQ is less than 100, or and then maybe you get to, oh, well, that's true. Then maybe since they don't pay taxes, they don't have a stake in what's going on. Why should they have a right to vote? Because wise men throughout history, going all the way back to Rome, figured this out. Once the masses figure out that they could benefit from the tax system, right? I'm not quoting him perfectly. The gist of it is that once the masses figure out that they can live off of government largesse, why would they ever vote any different? And then once the government starts spending and the people start benefiting from the government spending, where does that end? In America, 21st century America, we're getting a pretty good lesson on where does that end? $30 trillion later,